Okay guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Chaos and the story of Chaos. Now, as we all know, Chaos is the main bad guy of Skylanders. Although not really seeming that much threatening, he does make himself some pretty devious plots. He eventually becomes a menace in each Skylanders game, and we always got to bring him to justice. But in this video, I'm going in depth with the story of Chaos. I'm going to be talking about his backstory most of the time, and his story throughout the games. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and tell me if you want to see more story videos on this channel at the end of this video. So yeah, let's get right to the story of Chaos. So it seems like Chaos was always a bit of a bad kid. I guess he was just born to be bad. And that is what this video is talking about. And we're only talking about the video games, not the story of him in Academy. So his mom was bad as well. Now we never really actually figure out who's Chaos' father is. It could be Eon, it could be Strikor. We really have no idea. Even as an infant, Chaos knew he was bad. He took control over his nursery with his evil baby of army of evil drool. I guess he was still trying to figure out his catchphrase at this point. Because of this, Chaos was sent to the best evil school of magic Villainy, and sometime during Chaos' stay at this school, he met Glumshanks, and Chaos somehow persuaded him into being his evil lackey. Chaos promised him career growth for Glumshanks, and I guess Chaos never lived up to that promise. Chaos stayed at the school for quite some time, it seems, until he appeared as a giant floating head at his school's assembly, and he ate the gymnasium. I guess he was pretty hungry. Apparently this was just too evil for the evil school, so he got expelled. I guess at that point Chaos probably knew he was a portal master, and never actually states when he figures that out. Now this is a pretty cool upbringing, but it doesn't really match what the story scrolls say in the game. It says in the story scrolls that Chaos eventually got fed up with his dad, kicked him in the butt, and went into the darkness of the forest with Glumshanks. Now we could just say this all happens after Chaos got expelled from his school, which could possibly happen. It's pretty likely. After this, Chaos goes on a sporadic villainy spree. Chaos tries to find something called the Chattering Key, which could be used to destroy the Core of Light. Like always, he's always been trying to destroy the Core of Light. He sends a couple of his goons to use an invisibility spell, and to see if it basically works, to see if he can use it to sneak his way to get to the Chattering Keys. But his trolls decide to go to a Mabu market instead and destroy everything. Then one of his minions accidentally snitches on Chaos, so the Skylanders obtain the Chattering Keys so Chaos can't, and while this is all happening, Chaos actually kidnaps Flynn. And eventually Boomer finds out how to use this machine of doom they find to overpower Chaos, and they take back Flynn. And after all this, Chaos actually writes a book called 101 Ways to Become the Lord of Skylands. It probably didn't sell that well. And a little bit after this, Chaos is now trying to find a thing called the Mask of Power, so he can use it to, you guessed it, destroy the Core of Light. Chaos failed to find something called the Book of Power, which could help him find the fragments that you need to make the mask with a whole heck of a lot easier. He eventually actually finds the tech fragment somehow, it never says why, while he was trying to find, and then he tries to find a water fragment, but then he gets into a debacle with the Skylanders, which eventually leads him to pour gallons of fish on the Skylanders before he fires a bolt of magic on the ship of Fearsome Fang to sink the Skylanders before making his leave. After he left though, he thought he had obtained the water fragment, but actually the Skylanders had gotten it before him. So Chaos eventually figured this out, and he wants to find the air fragment, so he goes up to the Tempest Towers where the air fragment is supposed to be located at. Chaos goes up to the Cyclops Queen, and once she saw him, she thought he'd be a great addition to her animal collection, and ordered for his capture. After this, a huge battle ensues, and between Chaos's minions and the Cyclops. Chaos at this point had lost basically half of his army once his battle had happened, so he contacted a spy within the internal vault to find the other locations of the fragments. Sometime after this is just kind of like a side thing, I guess. Chaos finds a giant stone golem, and he thinks that there's an earth fragment that might be inside of him. There wasn't, and the Skylanders kick Chaos's butt. It's pretty funny. A little bit after this, Chaos forced a weather wizard, and he made him kidnap the undead inhabitants of the Isle of the Undead. That's a lot of undead. in order to drain them of their undeadliness and store it up in a tank of undead energy to shower every islands and Skylands with undead rain showers to turn the living into undead, as well as destroy all the other elements. A lot of undead in that sentence. Cinder, Zoog, and Hex figure this out. After an epic battle, the Skylanders do technically win and defeat Chaos, but Chaos's spy that I mentioned before was able to find 5 of the 8 fragments of the Mask of Power, and he gave them to Chaos. Also, somehow Chaos was able to kidnap Eon during this process. Never says how. At this point, for some reason, Chaos wants to find the undead bone dragon. He thinks it might have the life fragment in it. Kind of weird, I know. Chaos brought his trolls with him, and he put a spell on Eon so he could not move, so he brought Eon as well. But the bone dragon, he wanted to wake up the bone dragon, but when the bone dragon woke up, he did not think it was very epic of him to do that. He thought it was very unepic of Chaos to wake him up, so he turned Chaos and all his goons into stone. The Skylanders eventually found the bone dragon and told him it would be a very epic gamer move of him if he undid all the turning everyone into the stone thing he did before. So he did. And once free, Chaos revealed that he had planned this from the start just to capture the life segment of Mask of Power, which he believed to be in the bone dragon. Chaos actually overpowered the Skylanders at this point, and he fired all his evil magic on them, but Eon eventually broke from his spell, and Chaos was defeated by Eon pretty easily. Master Eon then revealed that the life segment of the mask was not in the bone dragon, but a stone heart that he was given to him by a wizard years ago. Defeated, Chaos and his forces retreat, leaving behind the spy that had given him the 5 fragments, but Chaos still had the 5 fragments with him, so I guess it didn't really matter to them that much. Not long after this, Chaos and Glumshanks actually time travel thousands of years into the past to overthrow the original owner of the Mask of Power, King Nefarion. If he succeeded, Chaos would rule the past timeline, affecting the future timeline. As always, the Skylanders, they eventually figured out, and Eon was able to time travel them back to where Chaos was, because if you guys don't know, only Portal Masters can time travel. However, Chaos knew the Skylanders would follow him, and he tricked one of the last remaining Portal Masters at that time, Portal Master Wizbit, into thinking that the Skylanders did not come to help him stop King Nefarion. So he captured the Skylanders. And during Chaos' stay in the past, he was able to ally himself with King Nefarion and betrayed Wizbit. When the Mabu Portal Master revealed to the Nightmare King the big bad ice bomb, a device which he intended to freeze King Nefarion with, and in his evil reign, he was obviously captured. And at this point, the Skylanders were still detained. Chaos triggered a cave-in trap, and he tried to basically just kill all the Skylanders. In Nefarion's castle, Chaos revealed to Glumshanks that he intended to use the big bad ice bomb to freeze King Nefarion so he could steal the Mask of Power from him. When Chaos presented the big bad ice bomb to King Nefarion basically just figured out that, oh, he's gonna try to overthrow me. And after this, Chaos knew that he was about to get his butt whipped by him, so he cloned himself multiple times to confuse Nefarion, and he actually was able to take the mask off of him. Then the Mask of Power, he took the Mask of Power, and the Skylanders were able to actually get there just in time because Wizbit got out of his capture, so they went to go stop him. Now, during this fight between the Skylanders and Chaos, the mask actually shattered into 8 pieces, and they were scattered across the Skylands by Wizbit. So in a weird twist of fate, Chaos was actually the reason that he needed to even find the pieces of the mask instead of just finding the mask in the first place. Eventually the Skylanders find all the parts of the mask and hide them in Eon Citadel. Now, even though this plan eventually backfired, I gotta say this was one of Chaos's best thought out plans that he's probably ever done, so props to him. So after this, it never tells us how, but somehow, someway, Chaos's minions were able to get all the mask pieces from Eon Citadel, and they gave them all to Chaos. And the Skylanders were obviously summoned to Chaos's castle to stop him from putting on the mask. But they were too late. Chaos put on the mask, and he was actually able to steal all the Skylanders' abilities, making them useless. But before Chaos game-ended all the Skylanders, Eon teleported them all back to the Citadel. Now, with the Mask of Power, Chaos basically wreaked havoc across all the Skylands and slowly made his way to the Core of Light. The Skylanders try to stop him by making a makeshift barrier around the core, but Chaos broke through it easily. And right before Chaos was about to destroy the core glide, he was stopped by Trigger Happy. Trigger Happy and the other Skylanders told him that he could not use all the powers at the same time. They were saying that he was too weak. Wanting to prove himself, Chaos attempted to use all their powers at the same time, but wound up losing control of all the powers instead, and allowing Trigger Happy to yank the Mask of Power off his face. With the Mask of Power disabled, the Skylanders were actually given all their powers back, and they destroyed the Mask of Power, fully destroyed it. As a punishment, Eon turned Chaos and Glemshanks into sheeps, and Trigger Happy shut them away in a pot of gold. Now after that, that's where Chaos' story ends, and that's when it goes into the Skylanders games. So all this actually happens before the Skylanders games, and honestly, I think this would have made a pretty cool game of all the other stuff that we've heard. But you guys have probably heard Chaos' story from the Skylanders games, but I'll just go through them real quick. Chaos actually ends up destroying the core of light, and he sends the Skylanders to Earth and turns Eon into a spirit. The Skylanders find a way back, and the Skylanders defeat Chaos and send him to Earth. Once on Earth, Chaos finds a portal and goes back to Skylands, and Chaos finds a cool robot. He wants to find the lost city of Arcus too, and he actually does that and uses a gauntlet and turns himself into a robot. The Skylanders defeat them. Then Chaos finds evil crystals that can turn peaceful creatures to evil. He goes on an evil spree with these crystals and turns a bunch of creatures evil. His mom joins in the fun but gets defeated pretty easily. Then Chaos uses all these evil crystals like drugs and snorts a bunch of it, and he becomes a giant crystal big purple monster. Guess what? You defeat him again. After this, Chaos jailbreaks a bunch of villains and gets kicked out of his epic evil group. He joins the Skylanders for a bit, but once you defeat all the villains, he turns on you and sniffs a giant piece of stinky cheese and becomes a Traptanium monster. Guess what? You defeat him. Then Chaos somehow takes over Skylands and makes a Sky Eater that eats Sky, and it's powered by the darkness. And eventually the darkness kind of takes over their evil gig, but Chaos doesn't really like that. He wants to be in charge. So once he can turn on the darkness, he does. And then he just lives at the academy for a while, and it never really states how long he lives there, but eventually he finds mind magic, and obviously he wants to use it for evil, and he finds a cool talking brain, which basically does his bidding, but not really. Then Chaos makes a cool game show as a last-ditch effort to stop the Skylanders, but then you defeat him, and you shrink him and put him in a jar. And that's the story of Chaos. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please tell me if you want to see more story videos in the comments. But that was it. That's the story of Chaos as of right now. A pretty interesting story, I think, actually. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and thank you guys for watching.